I'm about as real as they come.
All my beats tailored by Joe. House Digital.
Maserati, Rick in Detroit. Convertible bird in Miami. Graduated summa cum laude. Strip club made a tsunami. Carlton Hines with the ball game. Grateful Edmonds with the snowflakes. Craig Pettis in the M-Town. Sal Magluta with the boat game. Falcone with the cocaine. Like Freeway Ricky with the plug game. Like Monster Cody in South Central. Larry Davis from close range.
Scott, they say, studied police forensics to learn how to hide his crimes using bleach and arson to destroy evidence, and the database from his job at UPS to identify potential targets.
Maryland State's attorney called the criminal we're about to show you one for the record books.
Yeah, this story may make you double check the locks in your doors tonight. Jason Thomas Scott.
Yo, we back. It's your boy Popalot. Mobb. We headed to Murderland, you guys. Prince George's County. Fuck y'all know about it. Today, we are going to be covering an animal. And I feel like I'm certified to say that because I've seen a lot of bad dudes. But bro here, he was next level. And he's probably, arguably, one of the most dangerous, conniving, and shiesty, and not the good shiesty like the new niggas think. When I was coming up, shiesty was a bad thing, nigga. And bro is shiesty in Maryland's history. The person that we're going to be covering today is going to be a guy by the name of Jason Thomas Scott. And the first thing I need to say about that is my daddy told me, never trust a nigga with 2 first names, and bro got 3. I'm not sleeping on him. Now, this story is going to start out circa 2009-ish, maybe towards 2010. And Jason Thomas Scott was labeled a prolific burglar almost. He was charged with 11 felonies that included 50 burglaries and 9 home invasions. This case was very crazy for a magnitude of reasons because he was a UPS worker. And he was using the database to essentially target and stalk his victims. And after he was sentenced to 97 years for his role in those robberies and home invasions, he would be connected to a series of mother-daughter murders, as well as being convicted of murdering another woman. Now, in 2009, ATF agents John Cooney and Dave Cheplack would initiate an investigation into illegal activities of John Thomas Scott, who was selling firearms out of the UPS parking lot. Now, the investigation resulted in the purchase of 15 stolen firearms and the subsequent recovery of 48 stolen weapons, including silencers, machine guns, and thousands of rounds of ammunition. But it got deep.
The scores of victims in what some say is one of the most methodically wicked crime waves in this state's history. Jason Thomas Scott is a case study in the modern criminal mind. Educated, good-looking, and internet savvy, he orchestrated a fear that paralyzed parts of Prince George's County for 2 years. 29 home burglaries, 9 home invasions, and the sexual assault of a minor. Scott is also indicted in the murders of mother and daughter Ebony and Dolores DeWitt and named suspect in the killing of mother Karen and daughter Carissa Lofton, along with Velma Butler. All of it undetected at first, because if terror was Jason's assignment, he aced it.
He studied. He would watch TV shows that focused on criminal forensics, and he used that information to help him in his criminal endeavors, whether it was hiding his DNA by always wearing gloves, or turning off his cell phone and going as far to take the battery out of his cell phone because he thought that perhaps the police might be able to trace where his cell phone was at the time of any of these crimes.
Special agents for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives would come to know the devil in Jason Scott's details. Scott, who at times didn't work alone, made use of a database where he worked at UPS to target and gather information on his victims. According to court records, he would case homes and neighborhoods for days, and when he struck, he was armed with not just guns, but the tools of his trade. A break-in kit to pop out small windows and cut phone lines to alarms, a scanner to monitor police activity while his crime was in progress, even flex cuffs. The same tools evidence shows he used to break into Shirley Grooms' home, drag her down 2 flights of stairs, and holding her at gunpoint.
When you have absolutely no control over a situation, when you're totally helpless, it's kind of hard to describe, but it's a bad place to be in.
Because your fear yielded not only stolen cash and possessions, which he would divvy up at this abandoned home he called the Spooky House, but also to get a lead on other victims. During the home invasion of this house, Scott found a picture of the victim's teen friend, cross-referenced her name in the database, and 3 weeks later, he invaded her home and sexually assaulted the teen. All because he said, quote, she looked nice. This crime ring Jason Scott was orchestrating in his small part of Prince George's County was as terrorizing as it was brilliant. A masterful criminal stroke without so much as suspicion. A tightly wound enterprise that would only begin to unravel after a misstep here in Carroll County. To continue his crime wave uninterrupted, ATF agents say Scott thought he needed silencers, so he targeted this Carroll County gun store in Woodbine, located right next to busy train tracks. Timed perfectly between the dark of night and the rumbling of a passing train, Scott broke in to JC Arms. Jay Chenoweth is the owner of JC Arms, a business he runs between shifts as a Baltimore City firefighter.
It just started a 3-year nightmare that I just couldn't wake up from.
Because Scott didn't just take silencers, he pilfered about 30 specialty high-powered guns Chenoweth was licensed to sell. A burglary so well executed, police originally thought it looked like an inside job and considered Chenoweth a suspect.
It just went further and further downhill as we got into this over the last 3 years. It started off with just the loss of the actual inventory, then and the loss of the security. And then I started looking at possibly the loss of my freedom.
Until Scott resurfaces and ATF agents get a tip he was selling the stolen guns out of the back of his car in the UPS parking lot. Scott seems to know the risk and explains it to the confidential informant who was wearing a wire for the ATF's undercover buy.
You have to take the number though, because whoever gets caught with that, they're gonna be a alley. I mean, it ain't like no bodies on it or nothing. You just said where they came from.
But ATF can still trace them, and did, back to JC Arms, which ultimately leads to a warrant and evidence of a far darker crime spree.
We followed the trail where the evidence led us, and that led us from a gun store burglary to home invasions to murders to carjackings to just a real violent criminal.
In addition to the guns, ATF found the tools to Scott's trade. The burglary kit, those flex cuffs, his police scanner with earbuds, and what some law enforcement officers call a rape kit. Gloves, condoms, lighter fluid, a lighter to burn DNA evidence, and a camera to record the act. Processing all of it reveals Scott's monstrous acts plotted out in one neighborhood with almost the same precision as his criminal practice. One that would earn him the ire of the judge who, at Scott's sentencing, called him, quote, a tsunami of crime, who showed no indication that he would ever rehabilitate, at least not in this lifetime. Scott got 100 years in the federal system. Justice served, but for his victims, their sense of security and very faith in humanity remains pierced by these cold, dark eyes.
As long as I allow what he did to affect the way I live my life daily, then Jason Scott is still in control, even from where he is. And that is really the epitome of insult. It should never be that way.
Now, Scott was sentenced just last month. During his trial, he maintained he never committed any of these crimes, but says he admitted to them because as a man struggling with his sexuality, he was looking to be socially accepted. But that was just his first trial. Scott is scheduled to face at least 2 counts of first-degree murder by the state next fall. Now, while we just spent nearly 7 minutes telling you this story, we really just scratched the surface here. So we built a large and interactive web element that is on our website right now. You can click to read more on Scott's crime ring, how he pulled it off for so long, and the impact he left on his victims to this day. Brian Kubler, ABC 2 News.